Okay, so here we're going to do a walkthrough of a loop, a split range valve pair connected to a single controller. In this case, the one controller drives two valves through a series connection. And our task here is to verify the loop diagrams. So every team member has a loop diagram. We're going to be stepping through and verifying accuracy of all the connections, wire colors, terminal blocks, etc. So, Deb, start us off. Pick our loop wires there and tell us what we're starting
we have
with.
red to 7A and
Okay.
black to 8A is our power source coming down.
Okay, and I see that cable has a label on it.
Yes, that's
HIC 85.
hand indicating controller 85.
Everyone agree with that? Okay. No?
No, it should be
We're
HV.
switching that, aren't we?
We just switched it
Oh.
off. It's HV. We just need to fix that part.
Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead and take this pen and make a quick note. You can go in there and put a more proper label on there later, but for right now, just make a quick note. That's going to be HV85. Everyone else agree on the wire colors and terminals?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, okay. So Deb, next step, trace that down to the terminal block and let's find out where it goes from there.
Okay, we're coming out here, and now we've got our red is going to terminal 17, and our black to 18. And at 17, it is red to red. 18, it's black to blue.
Okay. And which terminal block is that?
This is terminal block 11.
Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and tug on each one of those wires, the red and the black, and make sure it's firmly in there. One thing you never want to do is trust your eyes when you're landing wires in a terminal block. You always want to tug and make sure they're there. Okay, and the label there says HV85. Okay, cool. I agree with that. Next person. Lauren, where do we go from there? Go ahead and step out, Deb. Give Lauren some room.
Okay, so we're still at terminal block 11, and our red to blue wires here,
Okay, which cable is that?
and this is our CP1 JP8.
All right, CP1JB8, red and blue. And which terminal block terminals are those?
And that's that's the red is in terminal 17, and the black is in terminal 18.
Okay, all right. Let's trace that over to the next stopping point. So we're going on to junction box 8.
Yes,
Let's find junction box 8, Lauren.
that's over here on the other side of the room.
All right, so we walk over here.
We've got junction box 8,
Junction box 8, great.
okay? And so our red and blue, here's our CP1 JB8 in terminal block 99,
Okay.
and here is our red, and here is our blue.
Red goes into which terminal?
Red is going into our number 9, and our blue is going into number 10.
Does everyone agree with that? Yes. Okay, cool. And then we have our place where the wiring splits.
And this is where it splits.
And it looks like you've lifted one of the wires over here to give yourself a free terminal. Yeah. Okay, so let's pick the cable now that goes to HV85A. So Bryce, how about you step in here and follow HV85A cable onto its destination.
Okay, HV85A is coming from terminal block 99 in junction block 8. It's coming out of red, should be coming out of number 9, which if you look at the cable HV85A,
Okay.
yep, it looks like a Y, but it's a V. And terminal number 9 is red. And then the black should be coming out of 11, which it is, which is
Okay.
coming out of 11. We tug on both.
Good.
Seem to be in good. They will follow through this to this opening here to this conduit.
All right. That comes over
all
here.
the way over here to this I2P transducer.
So yeah, unthread that cover. That then of course goes over to the valve HV85A. What I'm going to do here is a brief check of my tube connections, make sure everything feels tight. Does it say it's a different number?
I'm just looking at the tape on the I2P.
Okay, we have a wrong label, we'll have to change that.
Yeah.
All right, if you want, I've got a marker here, we can make a temporary change. No, actually, I gave the marker to Deb. There you go. Okay, and down here, I'm going to check our wire terminations. Make sure everything looks good. I don't see any problems with that. Okay, that's our I2P, sending air pressure to our Fisher 3582 positioner, which then goes to our Fisher control valve. And that concludes the wiring and the tubing for HV85A. Okay, next person. Michael, let's go back to the junction box, JB8. At
go
this
back-
point, we're going to follow the other cable.
Okay, so we'll go back to junction box 8 and we find 11 and 10, which would be the red to 11, and the black to 10, which would be the pair of cables that would be going to our other valve, HV85B.
Okay.
So this cable is labeled HV85B, as
All right.
you can see. And so this here would kind of make the series connection from one valve to the other valve. And so now we'd be following the cable, the HV85B.
So it looks like terminal 11 is the common junction point between the two series cables. Is that correct? So for example, looking at this, terminal 11 right there, that's the common junction point between that cable and that cable, joining at terminal 11. Okay, all right. And so, Ken, let's trace it on from there. We've identified the cable. Where does it go from there?
Okay, so it runs down through here and to this and through this conduit.
Right?
That runs down and to our positioner right
Okay.
down here through this conduit right here.
And that's
to
a
the
DVC
positioner.
6000
And
positioner.
this is a DV 6000 positioner,
Okay.
which is connected to our valve, as you can see here.
Right?
And we got the black going to our negative and our red going to our positive, which
Okay.
is correct.
Okay, I'm going to tug on the
And tug
tubes here and
I'll,
make
I'll
sure.
tug on these. Make
Good.
sure these are nice and
I also want to
securely
make sure we
fastened
tug
in
on
there.
on the wires up there in JBA as well, and this cable, make sure they're tight.
Okay.
Okay, take a look at that. Looks good. Now, as far as air supplies here,
I was gonna ask that, do we need to label our specific tubing?
well, for the air supplies, yes, I would put some mark on there, at least how many PSI of pressure you expect. For example, one of the other teams has a setup where their I to P requires a different pressure source than the positioner. They have a Valtech valve that requires 50 PSI to run the valve, but the I to P only takes 20. So there it's critically important to label the supply pressures because they are different. So in this case, let's take a look at supply pressures. We have on the DVC 6000 20 PSI supply, which stands to reason because the valve has a 3 to 15 PSI lifting range.
Giving you 5 psi extra.
Right. Over here, looking at this, you can see this one's cranked up to about 26 or 27 PSI or so. It could probably work fine to 20. But I would definitely note that pressure ranges in the supply required for both of those. Okay, tugging on the wires over here in JB8. I think we had one more wire to check,
Oh,
one more cable.
So our HV85B, we're gonna check those, make sure those are securely fastened into the terminal block,
Right.
and those seem to be good.
Good, okay. One final step as we're checking these diagrams, I want to make sure that the split ranging is clearly and unambiguously denoted on all the diagrams, so that anyone looking here understands how the split ranging is done. Now, taking a look at this diagram here that Ken's got, I see it's an exclusive split range. Looks like HV85A handles the lower end from 4 to 12 milliamps. HV85B handles the upper end from 12 to 20. Is that in agreement with everyone?
Yes.
Okay. And how are you denoting that on the diagram? See here, there we go. Lauren has the same sort of diagram, 4 milliamps, 12, and 20 with the triangle markings, HV85A, HV85B. Cool. I find that the clearest way to denote it.
And I have
By
it.
no means a standard.
So it's right above.
Cool, cool. And that's direct acting and that's reverse acting. It's another way of showing, yeah, because 85A closes as the current goes up, so excellent. All right. Great. Any questions? And that is a walkthrough of the loop, making sure everyone's diagram is correct.